Okay, so I thought today I'd talk just a little bit about antidotes to attachment. There's many of them, and I usually speak about impermanence and the temporary, transient nature of the object. So that's one, but I won't go into that one in depth today. And then another one that I find quite helpful is to imagine that I get what I'm craving, and then ask myself if I'm really ever happy with it. If it's really going to satisfy what my mind is telling me I want. So I envision having it, and then everything, of course, that comes with it. Because it's not just the pleasure you get from the object, it's everything else. Prince Charming, certain aspects would be good, but the rest... So, and it's with every object, it's like that. So I think, really seeing how the object is unsatisfactory in the end, okay? And then to apply emptiness to that is also, to objects of attachment, is also quite helpful, because when we're attached, like I was saying, we have inappropriate attention that has projected goodness and happiness and pleasure onto the object. So when we look at the object, it seems as if the pleasure exists inside them. That's why we want contact with it. We don't realize that pleasure is a feeling that arises in our mind. It's a mental factor that arises in our mind. Okay? But instead, we see the pleasure as external. So when we have contact with the object, it's like we get it. The pleasure comes into us. Now, of course, if that were so, every time we had contact with the same object, it should bring the same pleasure. That clearly does not happen. Okay? But, so it's quite interesting. One way to use the meditation on emptiness is to look at the object we're so attached to that our mind is saying, I want, I want, I want. And asking ourselves, where exactly is the pleasure in it? Yeah? So you take the person's body, and where is the pleasure in that body that I'm going to get by touching it? Okay? Or you look at the food, where is the pleasure in the food? Where is the goodness in the food that I'm going to get by putting it in my mouth? Yeah. Or you're craving some recognition, So you look in the words. You want somebody to write you an email. You want a certificate. You want an announcement, of the whole world to know something about you. And so you examine the letters. You examine the sounds, the words, look at the words, Where's the pleasure in that? Okay? So in doing that, what you come to see is that there's no inherently existent pleasure in those things. Okay? And in fact, as you dissect the object you're attached to, all you see of the object in your search for what is really the pleasure in the object is just parts of it. Yeah? So you hear moments of sound that are the praise. You see shapes, written on the page that are the letters. You see parts of the body. You see, parts of the food, atoms of the food. Whatever it is, if you're attached to the car, you see bits of metal, And you begin to see that there's no inherently existent pleasure in their object. And there's no inherently existent object either. That the object exists by depending on the parts, on our labeling it. And then it becomes very clear how the projection of benefit and happiness is really completely pasted on top by our mind. Yeah. Okay, so try that some with the things that you're attached to. Because we can look, and manju is like, that catnip has inherent pleasure in it. Now, if it had inherent pleasure in it, we should all be sitting in that box with him. you know? Because we would all experience the exact same pleasure. Yeah, but it clearly doesn't. He's in that box just with his little cloth mice, who I don't think are experiencing pleasure from it, you know? And to us, it just looks like a bunch of stuff. Yeah, kind of messy. Certainly not pleasurable. Okay. So in the same way, you know, others could look at the things that we're attached to, that we think have pleasure in them. Yeah, and say, what's going on here? Yeah, okay. And so also just dissecting the object physically, seeing what it really is in your search for pleasure is quite helpful.